5 years ago this month, I had my first ever session with a personal trainer. And never in a million years did I think that I would be sitting here half a decade later, having done thousands of hours of in-person coaching, having worked with over 100 people, and now running an online coaching business which serves clients as far away as the United States of America. It is mental. But today I'm not here to talk about that. Over the past 18 months, since the beginning of 2024, I have fully transitioned from somebody with a decade of weight loss obsession to somebody who fully lives and breathes the hybrid style of training. And in this video today, I'm going to be taking you through 5 lessons that if you are somebody who also wants to transition into that style of training, aka balancing, running, and lifting, lessons that you really should know as somebody getting into it. Now, I'm not going to give you some sob story about, oh my god, I used to be fat and sad and all that. There's another video for that. Basically, from 2020 up until 2023, I went through a 50 kilogram weight loss transformation. Calorie deficits, cardio, all that good stuff. I'd done it. And then when I became a coach, I essentially tried powerlifting, I tried bodybuilding, all that stuff. Never really vibed with me. And then I met my coaches at the end of 2023 who had just qualified for the High Rocks World Championships. And I was fascinated by the fact that they both ran and lift and looked good. I had always thought that you either were a runner or you were somebody who were just shredded or you were somebody who was strong. And it's something that in the last 18 months I have fully became myself. Am I somebody who can speak with quite a bit of credibility and experience on somebody going from never balancing, running and lifting to doing it consistently? Yeah. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Lesson number 1, fueling is king. Now, you might be watching this video as a similar person to who I was a few years ago. Somebody who is very diet mindset, very calorie deficit, lower calorie, lower calorie, lower calorie. Or you might just be somebody who has never really fully taken note of exactly what their nutrition day to day is. And the main thing that I would say is that if you're looking to get into balancing, running and lifting, doesn't even have to be running, whether it is also, it could be cycling or swimming or whatever it is. If you're balancing cardio and strength training, you are going to need to understand that what you eat is the most important thing. I would go as far as to say that it is probably more important than the actual training itself, because I always look at the analogy of your body is a car and your fuel literally is food, and that represents the petrol that you put into a car. So many people don't put enough in without even realizing it. It took me probably, over the last 2 years, it's probably taken me about 80% of those 2 years to actually get to a spot where I'm actually eating enough food consistently. When we get into the intricacies of your nutrition, you're going to be looking at things like obviously pre-workout, intra-workout, post-workout, all these things that people don't think about. And this has not been helped by social media and Instagram trends with nutrition. So many people look at nutrition as purely just calories and protein. Calories and protein. And to an extent, if you're somebody who's perhaps looking at just something like weight loss, or maybe if you're bulking or something like that, then yeah, that might actually be fine. But if you're somebody who wants to get into balancing, running and lifting and being that hybrid athlete or that hybrid person in general, then you're going to need to start understanding nutrition more efficiently. If you're not right now going through a diet phase or anything like that, and you're purely just wanting to get to a solid starting point with your nutrition, I would be looking at a TDE calculator or a maintenance calories calculator. Put in your body stats and just find out what your maintenance calories are. And then what I would do is I would start tracking your food for a few days to see where you're at just now. So for example, if your maintenance calories are 3,000 and right now you find out that you're eating 2,200 calories, I would not just jump up 800 calories straight away. I would start building up 150 to 200 calories per week and watch your energy levels and your performance boom. And if you're somebody going from a diet mindset to somebody who wants to get into this fueling mindset, then again, it's similar, but just understand that psychologically it's going to take you even longer because you've probably trained your body and your mind for so long to think less is better, less is better. Lesson number 2, growth comes in seasons. And just like your seasons, how you've obviously got 4 of them, you need to look at what your focuses for the years are in seasons, because you cannot just be going for big goal, big goal, big goal, big goal, time after time after time after time. I have done a lot of events in the last 2 years, from high rocks, half marathons to tough mudders, and it's great, don't get me wrong, it is fantastic fun, but your body and your mind needs time to recover. So I would be looking at a calendar year, and I would be looking at what events do I want to do this year and how am I going to balance them in around that. Because the way you've got to look at it is the more that you get yourself into this style of training, the higher the level of intensity and caliber of events that you're doing. It might not be more difficult events, but the caliber of which that you're doing at which will be high. What I mean by this is somebody going for their first ever 5 kilometer race or their first ever 10 kilometer race just to try and complete it, their training is going to look a lot different to somebody going for a sub 18-minute 5K or a sub 38-minute 10K, because the person that's doing that is going to be training with more intense, probably higher volume. You cannot be training at that intensity all year round. So I already know that in 2026, my main two events are the Edinburgh Marathon in May and a 70.3 Ironman in September. And that is my 2 seasons for next year. Now, obviously, you probably won't be in the same boat, but I already know that the year around that will be geared towards those 2 events. So I know when I'll be pulling back a little bit and when I'll be pushing more with intensity. Your body won't be able to handle just pushing for mad events all year round. Don't make that mistake. Lesson number 3, theme your days. Similar to what I was just saying in the previous point about how you've got to theme your year, theme your days. And what I mean by this is when you start introducing this new style of training, so whether it is you are currently running and you're adding in strength training, or if you're strength training and you're adding in running, or again, like I said, if it's swimming or cycling, that type of thing, theme your days to have high and low days. And what I mean by this is if you've got a strength session in your week and you also got a high intensity cardio session or a HIIT session or a conditioning session, something like that, I would be looking at putting those 2 days together. Because yes, is that day going to be harder? Of course it is. However, it will then mean that the next day you can actually have a full recovery day. Because whilst it might feel great and you might feel fantastic and probably get a tiny 1% bit more out of those 2 sessions if you do them on separate days, something I'm going to speak a bit later on in the video, but recovery in this style of training is absolutely critical. It is so important. And the benefit as well, unspoken, of doing that style is that in that day where you're training twice, or you're maybe just doing your higher intensity days in one 24-hour space, it is going to benefit your fitness because you're going to train your body to be able to handle higher levels of intensity. And you just got to take that into account. Especially when you start the style training, your body will go into shock. Not like cardiac arrest or something like that, but when you are only running and then you introduce lifting or vice versa, your body is just going to go a bit like, oh my God, this is quite a bit, Jesus. It's not going to be able to handle it straight away, and you need to remember that straight away. Your body is used to a certain way of training. You're now adding in this whole new style of training. Give your body time to rest. Lesson number 4, less is more. Now, obviously, a few minutes ago, I obviously spoke about how I was going to talk about this in a bit more depth. And this is probably the hardest thing that I found outside of nutrition, understanding that less is more. And I'm going to talk about this in a couple of different ways. First of all, I'm going to speak about it within your running. Now, if you're somebody watching this video and you're already a accomplished runner and you already understand all your zones and all that thing, then this point will probably already apply to you and you probably already know what I'm talking about. Zone 1 is when your body is at a conversational pace. So AKA, I'm just going to apply it to running because it's the easiest one to explain. Zone 1 run would be literally like the equivalent of 2 grannies going for a little jog. You can have a chat throughout it and you're totally fine. Zone 5 is, oh shit, that train's going to leave without me. I better send it. Very, very, very high intensity. Zone 2 is absolute king. Zone 2 is an intensity where you can still hold some conversation, but you are beginning to push a little bit more. It works out at about 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. Now, the reason why zone 2 is so important and why I say less is more is because it's less intense. Now, naturally, you think that to become a better, quicker, faster, longer runner, whatever you want to call it, you would have to run quick. No. There's actually going to be very few points where you're actually doing intense running. Because if you think about it like a pyramid or a triangle, this part here, the base represents your zone 2. The stronger that this base is, the higher up it goes, the better that your peak is going to be. You could also use the analogy of a house, and that your zone 2 represents the base, the foundation of the house, and that whatever happens above it with your zone 3, 4, 5, as long as you've got that zone 2 there and it's always building, you're getting higher and higher and higher. Essentially, 70 to 80% of your training, whether that be running or cycling or swimming, any form of cardio, should be done in zone 2. Now, the second part about less is more, it's just about general training volume. And I already touched on this earlier, but especially when you get into this style of training, any form of cardio alongside strength training, your body will not be able to be used to it initially. So even if right now you're training 4 times per week, strength training, push, pull, legs, and then you go, okay, I'm going to start adding in 1 run per week. Even if you go down to 3 strength sessions and 1 run, you're still going to be getting a lot of benefits, fitness-wise, strength-wise, because again, in that situation, people would think, oh no, I've got to maintain my same amount of strength sessions or I'm going to get weaker. You won't. And that's what I need you to understand, is that when you get into the style of training, less is more. Of course, in time, your volume, your intensity is going to build up. I'm always at a point now where I train 7 times per week. But when I started this style of training, I was training 4 times a week. And then I went to 5, and then I went to 6, and then I went to 7. And it'll probably go to 8 scary times in the next few months. But it builds up over time, because what my body can handle now is a hell of a lot better than what I could handle 2 years ago. And that's what you've got to understand, is that whatever you do right now, it's just about the consistency. So if you're consistently getting in your zone 2 training, strength training, over time you can build it up. But at the start, less is more. And number 5, probably the most important one, just enjoy it. Enjoy this style of training, because we're in this era now. It has never been easier to compare yourself negatively to people online. The thing with hybrid training is it's not intended to be creating athletes that are the single best at one sport. Obviously, you've got things like High Rocks and CrossFit, of course you do, and all that. If you're setting out to become somebody who does hybrid training, you're probably not going to be the best, quickest runner in the world. Probably not going to be the strongest powerlifter in the world. And I know a lot of people get annoyed and down about that. But the way you've got to look at it is your average, your age, your size, your height, whatever you want to call it. They might be a little bit stronger than you, but you're going to have 3 times their speed and fitness. Somebody a little bit quicker and fitter than you, okay, but you're going to have 3 times their strength. You're learning how to balance it all. You can be the person that can go and do a 10K without even thinking about it. You can also go and do a big, massive send session in the gym. But then by evening, you can also go out, socialise, and feel fucking class in your physique, because you're caring about all 3. That's why I love this style of training, because it is creating the all-rounder. You feel good, you look good, you lift heavy, you run far, and you run fast. So yeah, look, I understand that it's a bit nerve-wracking getting into this style of training, because there's a lot of connotations to it, and people like to take the piss out of hybrid training. But in my opinion, there is nothing superior to it. And I can only hope that you've taken a lot away from this video and that you've learned a lot from it. Then you should go and give another couple of my videos a watch, because I regularly take you behind the scenes of my life as I build my coaching business and I build my own fitness career. So yeah, like and subscribe. I do always appreciate it. I'm going to be bringing a lot more videos out like this. You have a fantastic rest of your day, and I shall see you later.